Hey Hot Rodders, it's Kent here with the Backyard Coupe. So as I was talking about in the last video, we're gonna start on the chassis now. And I've got some parts ready to start building the chassis. And I since bought some steel, I bought some 2x4 steel tubing. And I'm just gonna clean up and get ready to make the main frame rails. The box sitting on the floor is my cross member. It's a traditional drop axle front cross member. It's the same one I used on the original Backyard Coupe. So nothing special, but it's a stamped steel piece, and it is about 3/16 inch thick, or just under 3/16. I think it's like 0.175 thousandths. So it's a good little unit. That's what it looks like, and that's what we're using on this build, because like I said, it's traditional, and that's how the car is built pretty much. Hey guys, so we're going to start fitting, or we're going to start cutting up our frame rails here for the chassis. Just make sure, of course, that you get your sawhorses or whatever you happen to have it sitting on. Just square it up. I happen to have little adjustable legs on the bottom of these horses, but you can just use scrap pieces of wood or whatever, metal, whatever you got handy. So make sure it's level that way, crossways and lengthways. So I'm going to show you just a little sketch here so you can see what how we're going to cut up these frame rails for the chassis. I just made a little sketch here. So that's the section of the 2x4 tubing. And this is the taper cut on the front. The cross member would go right at the end of this piece of tubing, right up here across. And this is where one of the miter joints would be on the back end of the chassis, and then it would angle up and go over the rear axle approximately in here. So that's where we're going to start. These rails, I start out with 8-foot sections, and then I'm just going to clean these ones up and mark it out, and then we'll cut it, and then I'll show you how we fit it to the cross member, and then we'll go from there. Hey guys, so we're gonna cut this frame rail now. I don't have a plasma cutter. I don't even have torches actually right now, so I'm just using a zip cut, and we're gonna cut that taper on the front of the frame rail. Hey guys, so I finished cutting this first frame rail. Just finished cutting it and cleaned up the edges a little bit. So now what we're going to do is we're just going to take a piece of 1/8 inch flat bar and lay it on the edge of that frame rail and weld that in so that we have a finished frame rail there. So I'm gonna go, and I still got the other rail to cut with the zip cut, and then I'll come back and I'll show you how to fit and tack those filler pieces, and then I'll weld those up, and then we'll go from there. So I'll be right back. Hey guys, so we're back here again with the Backyard Coupe, working on the frame rails. I've got them all cut out now, tapered to the front there like I was showing in that little drawing, that little sketch. And I just finished cleaning them up, clean up the edges, inside and out. And here's my pieces. I've got cut to fill in those tapers that we just cut off. That's just 1/8 by 2-inch wide flat iron. And here, I'll put the camera back on the tripod and show you. I'm sure you can probably guess how they're gonna go. I'll try to get a little closer here. Yeah, so those just simply fit right into those tapered pieces that we cut off, so that we can, in effect, box that in like so. And then we'll just weld all that up and we'll be good to go. So just quickly, I'll show you. I've got a little spacer here, just 1/16 inch piece of scrap. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to, and for any of you fitters or fabricators watching this, you'll know right away what I'm doing. So I'll just put that in between there like so, and then that'll give me a little slight gap in there, so that I'll be able to get a nicer weld penetration on there. And then as I go along, I'll just tack it and go along, and then move that spacer, put a couple more tacks, move that spacer, put a couple more tacks, just like so, and then we'll get a much better weld on that. So anyway, yeah, that's what I'm going to do, and I'm going to start fitting and tacking those pieces in. So I will be right back. Hey guys, we're back here with the Backyard Coupe. We're ready to tack in those pieces now, so I'm just going to start off right away doing that. I'll just fire up my welder there and we'll get right at it. So yeah, we're gonna just continue to work our way down there and finish tacking those in. And when I finish with that, then we're going to go to the back of the frame. And I've already got my miters cut. We're going to start fitting the rear sections. The rear section of the frame rails on. So I'll hurry up and finish these up, and then I'll be right back. Hey guys, so I got these boxing plates all tacked into place there on the main frame rails. And I was just working on some of these other pieces that form the kick-up that go up and over the rear axle. I got 4 pieces here, 2 per side, and they just form a miter, like they're miter cuts. I'll just show you what they look like. I actually sketched out a piece on some plywood just to get all my cuts set up, and then I'm gonna, in the plans, I'm gonna include a I just made some rough ones up, but I'm gonna include all these little miter cuts so you don't have to figure out the miter angle. You can just hold that up and it's 4 inches wide. So it fits right onto that 4-inch tubing. And then you can just mark your cut. Just mark your cut there with a Sharpie. And cut it out with a zip cut. So yeah, I've got I'll include all those little angled pieces in there, little templates. Okay, so I've got these pieces here. I'm just going to show you kind of how they fit up there. So this is the rear of the frame. This would be the very, very rear of the frame. This is the end of the frame where it ends in the quarter section of the car. And then we've got these miter joints here. And this one down here will go onto the main frame of the chassis. So we're just going to tack these ones up here right now. So we'll tack these 2 pieces together for the driver's side, and then these 2 pieces for the passenger side, and then we'll fit those to the main frame rails, and then we'll go from there. So I'm just cleaning up the joints there. Okay guys, so we're getting ready to tack together these 2 mitered pieces. I'm just clamping them down on a piece of plywood here. I don't have a fancy frame jig or anything like that, but I will get set up on a nice, I think I showed you in one of the last videos how I set those horses up nice and level. I'm just going to put steel tubing across the tops of them, but for now we're just working on these pieces. So we're going to get ready to tack these. And I got a little template here. It just makes fitting them that much easier. Once you get your angles traced and cut, then I'm going to incorporate these into the plans also, so that you can, I mean, it seems a little hokey, but it works really good. You can make sure that your angle is dead on. I mean, you'll never get that laying it out with a ruler and a marker. So yeah, that's how I do it. It gets the joint really, I mean, it'll make them both exactly the same, and that's what we're after. So I'm just going to clamp this side of the mitered piece down, and then we'll tack them up. Okay, so that's how I do that. Actually works really good. Simple, cheap. We've got our mitered piece all ready to weld. And like I said, with that little template, you're going to get your joints really nice. They'll be exactly the same to one another. So yeah, so now I'm going to fit these two mitered pieces that I've got here to the actual frame rail. And then we'll have our kick-ups in the back. And then I'm going to start putting the cross members in. The front cross member, the Model A cross member, and then that rear one, which is going to be a custom made one. So yeah, let's get on to that. Hey guys, it's Kent here with the Backyard Coupe. So we're working on the chassis now. We got the frame rails setting on the horses there, and before you start doing anything else to them, you got to make sure that they are level lengthwise, and then also level crossways. And I've already got everything set up here. I'm not gonna waste any time just showing you that, because that's kind of self-explanatory. Just put a piece of tubing across the top rails, and you can check the level crossways and then level lengthways. So the ride height on this chassis in the Backyard Coupe is nice because it's pretty much level. So when we have a level on the horses here, that's the way it's going to sit when it's on the road. So we can, when we've got this set like it is then now, we can set the cross member and all the suspension and everything up on it. So I've got it set here. I got it clamped down to the sawhorses. I've got it, the predetermined width at the front is set where the cross member goes, and the predetermined width at the back is already also set. And those dimensions will be in the plans, of course. So what I was going to show you now is I just want to show you, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to tack in those rear kick-ups that go over the rear differential. So I'm just going to take the camera off the tripod, and I'm going to take you back there and show you what I've got going on. So we can see at the very back here, these frame rails have that miter. It's offset at a little bit of an angle there. And these kick-up pieces that go over the axle are going to set right in there like so. Okay, so that looks pretty good there. Hey guys, so we're back here with the Backyard Coupe chassis, and I'm just going to quickly show you what we've got so far. So we've got everything mocked up now in place, and I've got a couple of braces here on the back. Just some scrap angle iron that I had before we fully weld this up, because it's going to try to pull a little bit here and there, and we don't want to move it around too much. So I got these two diagonal braces there, and then I got a little light brace on the back here just to hold that width dimension that we have that's predetermined on the back side. So So this all gets measured diagonally from a common point from each side. And these measurements should be the same of each other within, at the very most, a 1/16 of an inch, I would say. So we measure diagonally on the kick-up part of the chassis there, and earlier on we measured diagonally from these main rails. Just pick a common point on the outside and then pick a point on one of these beveled edges here, and just make sure you measure, of course, from the same place each side. And then once all that is good, then you can weld these braces in. Okay, so I'm going to start with this front cross member, and we're just going to set it there in place. I've got to trim it back a little bit. Here, I'll just see if that camera's picking that up there. So I got to trim that back just a little bit. I'm going to mark it and cut it just with a zip cut. And then we're going to set that in place, and we'll tack that up, and I'll show you how to set the caster on it. It has to lean back a little bit. So yeah, I'll be right back, and we'll carry on and continue on the chassis. Hey guys, so we're ready to tack in the front cross member. I trimmed it down. I needed to trim it up a little bit to fit in between the frame rails. And I just got a couple of scraps of metal clamped overhanging on the frame there to set the cross member down on there. And then now we've just got to tilt it back. We've got to put a little bit of caster into the front cross member, and depending on who you talk to, it varies anywhere from 5-6 degrees up till 9 degrees. So I think on the original Backyard Coupe I use 7, so and it drives really nice. It almost steers itself down the highway, literally. So I'm just going to run 7 degrees. So I'm just going to lean that back, and then I'll tack it up, and I'll give you a close-up. Okay, so I got that in place. And you can see the angle of the setback there just by looking at it there. And there's a nice little bit of material there to weld. Didn't want to bring it too close to the edge, but I don't know if you can see that gauge. So it's about 7.5. Pretty fine, okay, there's 5 right there. So 7, it's around 7 there, 7.5 maybe, so that should be good. So we're gonna leave it there, and then we're gonna finish. I'll put a couple more heavy tacks in it, and then we'll move on to the back again, and I'll fab up that rear cross member, and then we can make the mounts for the axle and the ladder bars and everything else. Okay, so I'll be back right away. Okay, so I was just going to show you a little more footage up close of that cross member. So this line here, which is an extension of this, that's going to be calculated from that line on this side. That's going to be calculated from back on this main rail at the very back, at the bottom. Kind of some ugly tacks there. I cut them out and then I redid them a bit, but yeah, that's going to be measured from this back of that miter at the back of the frame. It's all going to be in the plans. I just wanted to show you a little up close. So, and then this thing is tilted back. It's flush on the front on the bottom because it's sitting on that piece of flat plate that I just clamped there on both sides. So it's sitting flush there. You can see the tilt back of it. And then at the back, because it's tilted down, you can see how it overhangs a little bit, but we can just taper that back when we're done welding it. Yeah, so just a little up close of that. So